since the low point probably in the second quarter of last year, when volume was really at the worst we've seen for a long time, then gradually the situation has been improving and volume has been increasing month by month. So I think we're starting to see that the situation is definitely on the upward. But being very realistic about it, I think we also see that probably a lot of this is restocking of inventories, where a lot of our customers have got their inventory levels too low and they now need to inflate their supply chains a little bit. So we think that's perhaps more a reason for the upturn rather than any fundamental improvement in long-term demand.
So then you don't think that this is the beginning of a real consumer comeback?
We think it's definitely the beginning of an improvement, but we're expecting that probably the upturn will take longer and be slower than we've been used to in the past. In our industry, we had a long time, maybe 30 years, of 8 or 10% average growth rates every year. And we think that perhaps after this downturn, we might have to get used to perhaps 4 or 5% growth rates as being more normal in future.
Well, during the recession, a lot of ships were laid up. Do you think that we're going to see some of those ships going back at sea?
It's already happening. I think the most recent figures, we're down below 9% of the world's fleet is still laid up. So some of those ships are coming back into service now. And that's absolutely necessary as world trade picks up. We need some of that capacity to be in service to carry the cargoes again.
Well, Asia has been leading the recovery. Have you seen any change in the pattern of trade because of it?
Yeah, I think most definitely. I mean, we still think that consumer demand probably in Europe and North America may be slightly on the low side, and perhaps it's the emerging markets that are going to be at the higher levels of growth going forward. Mainly because, there still seems to be a higher degree of consumer debt and so on in Europe and America, which might inhibit their spending. We've also seen a little bit of a change in that inter-Asia trade seems to be particularly vibrant, and perhaps also import trade. And that's something that we're looking at. China has mostly been renowned for exports in the last few years, but as it moves up the development ladder and economic growth continues, consumers have got more money to spend, and we're watching that very carefully now to see whether that might be the start of a more sustained increase in import flows.
So you think this is going to be a more permanent change?
We hope so, yeah. I think the signs are promising so far, but we have to take things very carefully. I think the recovery is fragile, and it may not be a linear recovery. It may be that it goes in little spurts and drops back a little bit. So I think we need to be very agile and keep matching the supply and demand as carefully as we can to keep a stable environment.